Hey guys, if we reach 1,000 likes, we'll be giving out 2 of our new shirts. All you gotta do is click like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Hey there guys, it's me, Moliminous. Welcome to another top 10 list. And if you guys are real OG members, and by OG I mean like 5 months ago probably, then you probably remember us doing this list already, because I sure as heck forgot about it though. In fact, I went through 3 different list ideas before realizing I've done them all. So I think it's safe to say that the next video will probably be top 10 pizza restaurants like Watch Mojo. But anyways guys, I wanted to go ahead and revisit it anyways, the top 10 cartoon ships, but this time we're gonna do the alternative ones, not as if these ships are alternative, but just different ones that I didn't put on the list that in retrospect probably should have been on there, but because it's the top 10, I can't fit everything. It's just not enough room. Literally, there's not enough room. It would have to be a top 20. Just mathematically, it doesn't add up. It's not mathematical. Number 10. Jenny and Sheldon. So you guys remember the show My Life as a Teenage Robot? Well, you really should. I know some of you might be too young. Look at me saying other people might be too young. That's the thing I never thought I would really say. This was an old Nickelodeon show, and it involved Jenny, a robot who had the mind of a teenager, and she was going through like teenage-esque things while being a robot. And it had a lot of weird stuff. Mainly, it had a love interest that was probably, in retrospect, as creepy as Sonic and the one human girl. It was between Jenny and this, like, weeaboo kind of guy. So, like, he literally wanted to date this robot. Like, this is... I get it, she has complete, like, consciousness of herself, but it's still a little bit weird. That aside though, it was a touching love story. It's probably fitting for a lot of people out there. This nerdy guy totally trying to swing outside of his league with this literal superhero and marvel of human technology. But it was cute, it was endearing. There was a lot of moments in it that were quite touching, especially for what's supposed to be a kids show. Actually, I don't know if they were trying to aim for kids or preteens, but you know, it was definitely not what you would expect, and it's something that I wish would get a reboot on something like Cartoon Network, who would allow them to probably go a little bit further than Nickelodeon ever would, but we can only hope for that. Number 9, Kim and Ron. Call me, beat me, if you want to reach me. Hey, you guys know I love Kim Possible a lot? Well, this is the show that she fangirls. Kim Possible was an amazing Disney show back in the day that I also grew up watching. Now, it only lasted for a few seasons before being canceled because, quote, they had enough episodes to keep it in syndication, so despite having a lot of rave reviews and everyone loving it, they had enough to just keep on rerunning old episodes and making money off of the show. So why put more money into it to possibly get even more money out when you could just end it and rerun episodes? Because logic. But Kim and Ron were the 2 main characters. Kim being the incredible, athletic, smart, intelligent, and beautiful person of the group, and Ron being the comic relief. Though there are some times where Ron would just come out of nowhere with amazing powers because he was infused with monkey kung fu. I forget the actual name that he got, but one of the episodes he got infused with the power, and so every now and again he'd actually turn into this badass character. But there were some pretty heavy shipping vibes here. In fact, I believe in one episode they literally went to prom together, and I think it was actually pretty cute. Like, a lot of scenes, like, they started off as friends and they showed for a very long time that you don't have to always have a love interest when you have a male and female protagonist together, but it's not bad if you do. Number 8, Danny and Sam. Danny Phantom, another show that was a staple of old golden days Nickelodeon. Well, golden age for me because that's when I saw Nickelodeon, Disney, Cartoon Network all pump out some amazing shows right before they all took a giant dip in creativity and just production value. I have no idea why. And it was way before Cartoon Network decided, let's be cartoonless even though it's in our name. But Danny Phantom took a boy who was just 13 when his parents built a very strange machine. It was designed to see a world unseen, He's gonna catch them all because he's Danny Phantom. He's a teenage superhero who somehow, I guess, is half dead because of a machine. It's not actually explained because these are all ghosts, and to become a ghost, you kind of have to die. And a lot of his villains were also teenagers, and at one point it was an entire high school. So there are some pretty dark things going on in this world that we don't address. But regardless, Danny was the main protagonist here, and Sam was one of the two sidekicks that he had, that being Sam Tucker. Sam was this goth girl, and you guys know I love the gothic aesthetic. I love the emo aesthetic and the gothic Lolita aesthetic, all that kind of stuff. I really like it because too edgy 5 me, you know. But so it's, of course, this seems like my perfect ship. You have a half dead guy, emo looking, white haired Phantom with a goth chick. It seems perfect for me. And so I might be showing a little bit of my bias by even putting it on this list, but there's definitely tons of people who would agree with it being on here. In fact, they probably put it as number 1, a lot of them. It was pushed, but it also wasn't. There were moments where it almost became kind of like a love triangle at points. There was never any real... I can't remember if they ever actually got together, because I don't even think the series ended fully. I think it was just canceled at one point, probably due to budget cuts and them not wanting to make cartoons anymore. But you know, it wasn't in your face, and for a lot of ships, I feel like a lot of good ships, it can't be something that's just established. It has to be a giant build up, and it has to be like towards the end of the series for your final payoff. And I guess technically we never got our payoff, but they did a good job of building it up, adding enough conflict and enough other choices that it wasn't like the only choice there. So it wasn't like completely apparent that, yeah, Sam and Danny are definitely gonna get together at some point. Number 7, Aang and Katara. So, Avatar: The Last Airbender. This is the original form, and I'm not talking about that god-awful movie. Which, yeah, there were some cool scenes in there, but overall, I did not approve of the movie, especially with the way they pronounced Aang's name. You would think someone would have at least watched the show. But Aang and Katara are... there's a slight age difference, I think, between the two, but eventually, I guess they get together. And it's actually, I believe there was some bumpy moments there, because obviously Katara knew that Aang liked her eventually, but they kind of didn't address it because, you know, they had pressing matters on their hand, like the end of the other nations, because there was a giant comet coming that was going to give the Fire Nation extreme powers. And in this show, the Fire Nation is just pretty much the end all be all. They're Hitler. They are literally the Nazis in this world. They are Nazis. I think in the Legend of Korra, firebenders are not really negative anymore. It's a lot more harmonious, but it didn't always work out that way. So if you guys have only watched Legend of Korra, this is the predecessor to this that laid the foundation. You can totally have a fight about which one is better, but I like both of them, really. And obviously I'm biased because I grew up with the original, but Aang and Katara are definitely one of the proto ships that actually hinge, make Legend of Korra hinge on that entire ship. So I think this is a pretty important ship. I think a lot of people would agree it's a pretty important ship. Number 6, Raven and Starfire. Teen Titans, the original one, again, on Cartoon Network before they wanted to go all absurdist comedy, which, again, I don't have a problem with this. I've made multiple videos in defense of Teen Titans Go. It's one of their most popular shows for a reason. You guys might not like it, but kids certainly do. And kids also have the option to see the original Teen Titans, and unfortunately, it looks like Teen Titans Go is what kids want to see. I mean, why is this a surprise? In a world where iDubbbz, Filthy Frank, and Max Mofo reign supreme, of course, kids are gonna want to watch more absurdist humor. Not to even remotely try to say what Filthy Frank, iDubbbz, and Max Mofo do aren't great, because they're one of my favorite channels. iDubbbz and Filthy Frank, I spam F5 on their pages, but it just makes sense. Anyways, I'm kind of getting off topic here. Raven and Starfire are not explicitly hinted at or even really implicitly hinted at in a lot of cases, but there was one episode where they switched powers, where there was this very large bonding moment between the two that probably put it in a lot of people's mind that this could be a possible ship. That and, well, lesbians. Come on. Raven and Starfire are literally the opposites of each other. One requires happiness and flowery thoughts in order to use her powers. The other one is all about keeping their emotions in check, being as reserved and neutral as possible, to the point where they seem very negative about everything, really. Again, Raven is obviously a gothic character, where I would see Starfire as more seen, where she could pull off a gothic look but with brighter colors. Again, there's not much in the show to really back this ship up, but that's not really the point of shipping. Shipping isn't to be this canon thing, but it's something for fun for the audience to do, for those who are invested in these characters to fantasize about, because that's what cartoons are for. They're for fantasizing. They're for exploring the just far reaches of your mind. Number 5. Chrysalis and Flufflepuff. Again, not canon in any regards, not even hinted at implicitly or explicitly, never even shown together in the show. I don't even think Flufflepuff has ever been in the show, not even a canon character in season and G4, not even on Hasbro's radar, but like 700,000 people subscribe to this channel. I think it's safe to say that the fandom at least loves the ship. There's not much to say because again, it's not canon, but it's honestly a cute dynamic. This really kind of villainous person being taken in by this literal embodiment of fluffiness and kindness. If you guys haven't seen some of their animations, you should definitely go check them out. Not that they really need a shout out for me, but yeah, go ahead and do so. Number 4, Dipper and Pacifica. So I know I had the other ship with Dipper and Wendy, but Dipper and Pacifica is probably the more likely scenario simply because of the ages being right next to each other. There are multiple times in the show where Wendy has brought up, dude, we're just simply too far apart age-wise. And yeah, when they're like in their 20s, that gap wouldn't matter, but for right now, it is a big deal. And there's a lot of moments where Dipper is teaching Pacifica, and we see a different side of her. She's not completely heartless, this spoiled rich kid. She does have a layer underneath that. And it may take some digging, but Dipper could get to it. And, you know, there's a saying, you like someone for the things that are good about them, but you love them for the bad. And this ship kind of embodies that. Number 3. Lapis and Peridot. This is literally just taken from my top 5 Steven Universe ships, but it wasn't on the other list, surprisingly. I guess 5 or 6 months ago, I wasn't really paying attention, or maybe they weren't even characters back then, actually. But Lapis and Peridot is this Toussaint kind of ship, you know, where Lapis is all like, it's not like a, where Peridot and Lapis are kind of both like that. It's not like I care about you or anything, Baka. They're kind of even reminiscent of both Raven and Starfire in a lot of senses. Peridot is naive, but she's bubbly and outgoing, but she's cynical in that bubbliness. It's not that she's happy, it's simply that she likes to hear herself talk, and she's very full of herself. Lapis is a lot more reserved and tries to keep to herself, but is also very confident in herself in a lot of regards as well, even after all the stuff that she's been through. They're obviously living together, and the way Steven Universe is, it's not really a stretch to think that they're probably hinting at some sort of deeper emotional connection there. Speaking of Steven Universe, number 2, Steven and Connie. Well, this one is kind of really explicitly shown. There are multiple scenes, like Connie training for the ability to fight and die for Steven on the battlefield. There are all kinds of songs about that. Tons of moments where they're bonding through warfare. And they literally fuse together, which in this show is a big deal. Fusion is pretty much tantamount to sex. In fact, it's sometimes even regarded probably higher than it. It's literally becoming one with your partner, mind, body, and soul. You are now all together, and your sum of your parts now create this greater being. Their kids only being like 15 or 16, but they've been through a lot. And they've grown together, and they're probably beyond that of a lot of adults mentally. It's something that I think the show is pushing, and probably the only real viable ship in the show for Steven that I've ever seen, as they've hinted at other people being shipped together, but this is really the only one that they've ever given Steven, even as a possibility. And that's why I think that they want us to really hammer home these guys are probably going to end up being together. It does make sense. They're great on the battlefield, and they're just great friends overall. And that should be the first thing you look for in a partner. Someone who's your friend. And the number one spot is Marco and Jackie. So, again, I did this on the last list, but it was actually Marco and Star. But honestly, one of the ships that I really did enjoy, even though I wanted Star always to be with Marco, was Marco and Jackie. It was the love interest since the beginning for him. And yeah, Star didn't actually know that he was... And yeah, Star didn't really realize how much she actually cared about Marco at first, but that changed. Marco, though, always cared about Jackie, and he was simply too awestruck to really go out of his way and talk to her. And eventually, they finally did start talking, and he went to prom with her. And through that, we saw a different side of Jackie. She's not this unapproachable person, but she was put up on a pedestal by Marco, and she did everything she could to make him see that she's just like him. In fact, she thought he was too cool for her. It's kind of the typical high school scenario here. And for that, the realness of this ship, I have to give it the number one spot. Also, Jackie is just really cool, let's be honest. Anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for my list. Let me know down below if you guys had any that you wish were on this list, or the ones that you agree with or disagree with, and let me know why. I've been Faith and Moliminous. I hope you guys enjoy, and if you did, be sure to go ahead and check out our Discord in the description, where you can go ahead and talk with other people who are fans of Star Versus, or Steven Universe, or MOP. We just had a huge influx of like Star Versus fans, like another 500. Like the server is almost at 2,000 people at this point, which is great. And if you guys also really enjoy the work that we do here, go ahead and support us on Patreon or pick up a shirt. Those are always my favorite option for you to do, because we have a lot of cool designs. In fact, there's a new design coming very soon, which I think you guys are going to love. As always, guys, it's been Faith and Moliminous. Peace to Lim out, and I'll see you in the next one. Woo!